Okay, so I'm going to show you how I type offers. Let me open up, I usually open up matrix and dot loop at the same time. I know you can't see the screen, but let me just go over to dot loop. Okay, so I've got matrix open, I'm logging in. For this purpose, I'm just gonna choose like a random property and make a contract with it so you can see. So usually what I would do is go to matrix and I'll find the property. All right, so just to make sure you can see what I'm doing in matrix. So I just pulled up, actually let me pull up a different one. Say I'm making a contract on Main Street. Sorry, right here, Main Street. So I'm just gonna copy the whole address, 309 Main Street, Jonesville, North Carolina, 28642. So once I've got that copied, I'm gonna go over to dot loop. I'm hoping that you can see this. Let's get rid of it. Just doing the screen share over again to make sure that you can see dot loop. Okay, so then I'm gonna go add loop. Do you see that? Add loop. And it wants the property address, so I've got it. I'm gonna cut and paste this 309 North Main Street, and then in the drop down, it's gonna show it. So I'm gonna select that and go import data. So it's gonna take all the information out of matrix into dot loop and then continue. On this, you get to drop down the template, whether it's a listing for land, a buyer, or a buyer for land. So for this one, I'm gonna go buyer and continue. We don't need to upload a picture, so I'm just gonna click that I'm done. And then it's creating the loop. So then I'm gonna view it. And these are the documents. So down below here, if you just add the people that are involved in the transaction, usually it's me, so in this case, the buying agent, and then you're gonna add a person. Say it's Marion Smith, and then you put their email, and then you add them. Basically what that's gonna do is when you start to pull, you can actually check all these documents all at once and then open. And then the first thing it's gonna wanna do is to autofill. And then if you already have the buyer name and email, and the buyer agent and the listing agent, which all comes from the MLS, the buyer name and email would come out of the follow-up boss. Down here at the bottom, it just says autofill. So once you do autofill, it kind of fills in at least this many blanks. We may have to fill some of this out. So on the buyer's agency for general location, you can always just put North Carolina. Terms of agreement, just pick 3 to 6 months. Compensation of firm is 0. And buyer agrees that firm's fee should be in the amount of, I usually do 3% or as offered on the MLS. So then as I'm going along, usually I'll sign these, and these are for the buyer initials. On this one at the top of page 2, I usually put 90 days. Checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. On this one for the buyer agency, that was on page 3. This autofill, so the system will already show the buyer where to sign. So that's, and then you just save all those changes. We're not gonna share this one because it's just an example. So working with agents is gonna be on all the forms. It probably just autofills my agent name and license number. If not, my license is 257590. And then down here too. So that's the working with real estate agents. So I'm just backing back out to go, and it probably already pulls these. One thing to notice under offer docs is it doesn't pull the disclosures. You have to get them from Matrix, and usually they're in a folder right here, but for the purpose of this document, they were not here. I usually have to download the disclosures, and then upload them here to add a document, and then find them on my desktop. So you see I've done that here with this property already. And then, so once you have that uploaded, you're gonna fill in the offer to purchase and also the disclosures, which were not attached to this one. Buyer information should autofill. Seller information, I usually get it right here at the bottom of the MLS sheet. We definitely want to fill in the subdivision, which can be found usually right here, but on this one it's none. And the purchase price, the 2 deposits here, which I'll usually give you that information. Also, we want to fill out the subdivision and PIN number. PIN number can be found usually at the top. Well, this one doesn't have it either, so it should be right there, but it's not there. And then maybe the deed book and paid, which is right here, you can copy, and usually I just paste it right here. But whatever legal information you can find on the MLS sheet, you can fill out as much of this part as possible. And then, like I said, the purchase price, due diligence fee, and earnest money fee. Escrow agent, when I write my contracts for buyers, it's usually just going to be RE/MAX, Realty Consultants. And you can always make a template if you can find that that's a little bit easier. I just don't. For due diligence, I usually count out maybe 4 weeks. For settlement date, I usually count out about 5 weeks. Nothing to really say here unless there's personal property to be discussed. So sometimes that might be like, I would say refrigerator. And then you have to add the words at no additional value. So do that and then save. All this is going to autofill where the initials go. But now on the disclosures, it won't. You have to drag and drop. Loan information, which comes off of the pre-approval letter. So they do have to obtain, and then what type of financing. This should all be on the pre-approval letter. If not, you can ask the lender, down payment and all this information here. On this one, we're going to say buyer has not received a copy of the disclosure, but usually they're supposed to receive a copy of the disclosure. Is it lead-based paint? Is it before 1978? You can see here, this one is, because it's 1941. So you would check that box. And if there's any closing costs to be paid, it's under this one, agreement to pay buyer expenses. So we'll just say $3,000. This is going to autofill who the deed is made out to. It's also going to be the same names as the buyer. If the buyer is married, we'll add their spouse. If they ask for home warranty, that would go on number 10. If it's FHA, we need to check this box. If it's older than 1978, we check for lead-based paint on this box. If there's any other addendum, if it's a foreclosure or a relocation company, that might be something that we have to identify, or other attorney party drafted addenda. And all this stuff needs to be signed, but it should be auto-filled. This should autofill as well with my company information, and we should also fill in the listing firm name. It can be found through these links. When you click, there's the information needed there. Also here, and you can get the firm license number. So there's that. And then this is just a receipt page for the deposits. So now I'm just going to go back here and pretend that I'm downloading the disclosures so that we can do it. And I'm going to practice just using disclosures from a totally different property so you can see how we drag and drop. So under offer docs, I'm going to add a document, and this time I'm going to browse and just pull up the Aries disclosures. This is for a totally different property. And it should show up right here. I'm sorry, that's the offer. So disclosures. All right, so there's the seller's name already initialed and filled in there. So what we're going to do is add a signature right here and assign it to the buyer. And for this one, assign it to the other buyer, right? So if there's 2 buyers, we're gonna assign it to each buyer so that they can sign right there. And then none of this is really filled out. I don't know why, but the next thing to do is put in their initials and assign it to the buyer. And then there needs to be a date. So here, Same thing here. You just drag your signature and drop. And when all this is finished, you save and share, and everyone will get a copy of the document you drew up, and they'll merge together into one PDF document. So that's basically how you type an offer. If you'd like to try one, you can always do my address. Well, you can just find a random one on the MLS and just try it and just see if you have any questions and let me know.